I want to start by expressing the gratitude of my country to the International Court of Justice for the manner in which it intervened in this case. It protected Kulbhushan Jadhav, who was on death row, from being executed in a hearing which was put together in a matter of days. And today it has delivered a judgment which has gladdened our hearts and once again restored the faith in the rule of law, in the International Court of Justice, and in the systems which we have, as mankind, put together to protect citizens of the world from state tyranny. We had challenged the conduct of Pakistan in its brazen refusal to adhere to the Vienna Convention and to allow consular access to an Indian. Pakistan all along sought to use the proceedings to make allegations against India of state-sponsored terrorism. It repeatedly played out slides of what it claimed were a passport it had recovered from Jadhav and asserted that India has to explain how this passport was put in place. Not only did the court not get drawn into this, but displaying this passport led to the court rejecting Pakistan's argument that Jadhav's nationality was uncertain. The court said, if you say that there was a passport which you recovered, true or false, the court says if you recovered a passport which you rely on and it was issued by India, you could have had no doubt that he was in India. Pakistan ran 3 preliminary objections. I will not bore you with the details. They were legalistic. But some of them may be of interest. In the course of its exchanges with India, where India repeatedly sought consular access, at one stage, based on the extracted confession, which Pakistan played over and over again in the international media, Pakistan told India that they had registered a first information report for those who in India had supported Jadhav in what they alleged was his conduct and his activities in Pakistan. The who's who of India's officialdom was named in that. And at one stage Pakistan claimed that if India were to allow that, then it would allow consular access. In the ICJ, Pakistan also ran the case that India has not cooperated in this investigation and therefore India should not be heard to complain of violation of the Vienna Convention. This argument has been rejected. I have a degree of personal satisfaction that a lot of adjectives were used by Pakistan in its submissions. Even in replying in the court, I characterized them as unfortunate, and I said it is my upbringing and India's tradition which stood in my way of replying to them in that language. Pakistan had based allegations of what we as lawyers call abuse of process and said that was another ground why India should not be allowed the relief it seeks. That has been rejected. The court has held that Pakistan is guilty of what it, and this is what I have written down when I was hearing the judgment, the court has held that Pakistan is guilty of internationally wrongful acts of a continuing character, and it must cease those acts. I think in the language of diplomacy, which is the language of the International Court of Justice, this is trenchant indictment. Personally, as a lawyer, I am delighted that the court has upheld our argument that while construing the Vienna Convention, the ICCPR, the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, must inform its interpretation. All this has led to the court giving us the final relief. We had ambitiously asked for annulment. The court said we can't annul, but they have said that Pakistan has to do everything to make the Vienna Convention right a living reality. They have to allow review and reconsideration. They have rejected the argument that clemency is a form of review and reconsideration. They have not accepted the argument that resort to judicial review in Pakistan courts is good enough. And that is why they have said that you must allow review and reconsideration. As I read the judgment, the critical point of review and reconsideration is that he has to be allowed consular access, he has to be allowed, and the review and reconsideration must take into account the potential prejudice caused to him, the implications of his evidence, and his right to defense. And it is only such review and reconsideration where we or our consulate will not only be allowed to meet him, discuss with him, see the papers, examine the evidence against him, but also arrange for his legal representation. And then there has to be a fair trial. Pakistan's Attorney General asserted that their constitution assures a fair trial. The court has said you must take all steps necessary. What steps you take are of your choice, respecting the sovereignty of Pakistan. But they have said this choice is not a free, unhindered choice. There is what they have used a nice phrase, they have said there's an obligation of result. And that result has to be a fair adjudication after allowing him consular access. And most tellingly, the court has said, you will take all steps necessary, including legislative measures. So Pakistan's repeated assertions that our existing laws are good enough and he can get nothing beyond has not been accepted. So I think I see this judgment with a sense of relief, a sense of gratification. And of course, they have said that till all this is done, there is no question of executing him. So I see this as something which we are very happy with, and I think it is now a good moment for us to help Jadhav get justice, ensure he has a fair trial, and since I know this is a question which all of you must be having in your mind, what if? The answer is, as in the other cases, the way the court judgment is, we can always go back to them if what they give is not a fair trial. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask you, sir, is this trial now going to carry out in the military court, or does it have to be in the open court?
They have said a fair trial in accordance with the Pakistan Constitution. If it is back in the military court with the same rules where outside lawyers are not allowed, we are not allowed, access is not given, evidence is not given, it will not meet the standards. So either they will have to amend the military law, and they are laying themselves open to the challenge that that trial was not a fair trial as contemplated by the court. That's why I said I'm very gratified as a lawyer that the court has said that the ICCPR must inform the interpretation of the Vienna Convention.
If you could just speak a little bit about the timing aspect, because the judges were quite clear about that we should be provided counsel access in a timely manner. So what would that involve?
Pakistan took 3 months to notify us. First time over, the court has held that was a breach. And I would, as reading this judgment, I think if one were to be graceful, one would write tomorrow and say, please come and meet him.
So, what is the force of this judgment? Because as I understand it, it's not binding and the court can't enforce it.
What makes you say it's not binding? Yeah, I know some people are suggesting. What do you mean by a binding judgment? Look, if the Supreme Court of India tomorrow were to give a judgment and the government says, I refuse to follow it, what can the Supreme Court do? The power of all the courts, as we say in our system, the courts have neither the power of the sword nor the power of the purse. Their power is the power of public opinion. If the ICJ verdict is disobeyed, we can take measures including by way of sanctions at the United Nations level. Now, I'm sure Pakistan will not go that way, but if some country against whom a judgment is given wants to behave rogue, there are measures available. But I'm sure Pakistan will not go down that road, or at least I hope so.
Sir, however, from the BBC, how big a victory do you perceive today's judgment to be? And what next for Mr. Jadhav? And can you secure his release, do you think?
The victory is a victory of the rule of law. And whenever the rule of law wins over state tyranny, I consider it personally, perhaps being a liberal at heart, to be a big victory. What next for Jadhav? The next for Jadhav is consular access. Hopefully we might even be able to secure, maybe I am being ambitious, secure a meeting with his family which is unhindered. And Jadhav protests his innocence. I'm sure if it is a fair trial with the correct legal assistance, we will secure his release. And if the trial is not fair, we can go back and knock at the door of the ICJ.
Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, few hours back said that it's justice will be done with Kulbhushan. Do you think it's a beginning?
And a big beginning at that.
Thank you.
Mr. Salve, if Mr. Jadhav is allowed council access, would it be you continuing to present him?
Consular access is by the consulate officials. They will go, they will meet him, his defense will be arranged. I don't think I have the right to audience either as an English barrister or as an Indian senior counsel in Pakistani courts. But I'm sure there are fantastic lawyers in Pakistan who will take up his cause.
Sir, Harish Salve from Times Now. There's also this point that Pakistan was trying to make that as Jadhav was supposed to be a spy, the Vienna Convention does not apply, and I think the court has also spoken a bit about that. If you could just throw some more light on that.
Yes, Pakistan, it was one of their main arguments that a spy is not allowed consular access. We relied on the fundamental principle